Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the Alabama Youth-Led Advocacy and Mentoring Town Hall. We're so excited that you're spending some of your afternoon with us. My name is Adriana Isea. I'm the Director of Advocacy at Mentor National, and I have the pleasure of introducing our panel today. Just to give you some information, today we do have live captioning. It is available. It went out in your registration link. You can also stream it here, and in a second I will send it in your chat box as well. Just some housekeeping information. 1 week after this town hall, all attendees will receive an email with instructions on how to download this webinar, and you can share it as well. It'll be on YouTube. And then a couple of links to Youth Advocates for Mentoring and Mentor Civics education page as well. For today's webinar, all attendees are on mute for best sounds. That doesn't mean we don't participate. So please type any questions that you have for panelists in the questions box, and that they will all be answered during the question and answer session later on in today's presentation. So today's presentation is really based upon the belief that Mentor National has. I'm going to turn off my webcam because my computer is saying that if I turn it off, you'll be able to hear me better. So let's try that. So it's really based on the belief that Mentor National has that young people should be at the center of policy and advocacy solutions. And that young people do not exist in vacuums, right? Like policy changes, elections, advocacy, everything impacts them. And mentors have a critical role as they grow alongside young people to support them, to support their advocacy and policy passions, and to help them develop self-confidence and leadership skills while making an impact on the systems that impact young people the most. So about a year ago now, Mentor started a program called Youth Advocates for Mentoring. It's a program that selected 12 young people from throughout the country to come together for a 10-month training cohort where they learned about policy, advocacy, grassroots organizing, and how to effectively advocate for issues that they care about in their communities and throughout the nation. And so throughout this time, they learned about how to effectively communicate with elected officials, how to create social media campaigns related to the issues they cared about, all grounded around two things. One, they wrote a policy memo that they presented to their members of Congress at the very end of the program on an issue that they cared about. They did research. They liaisoned with grassroots organizations. They learned about their topics. They became true experts in their issues. And then they also got support from a professional advocacy advisor who served as a mentor throughout this journey that they were on. And you know, one other thing that I would just note about each young person in this program is that they were representatives of their communities, of their states. They are the experts in those issues. And they were all part of formal and informal mentoring programs before they got to Youth Advocates for Mentoring. So while you'll learn today just two of the really incredible passions and topics that that our young people advocated for while they were in the program, you'll see this common thread that all of them were a part of youth development and mentoring programs that I think really helped cement their journey. So today I just have the privilege of introducing two of them, two of our really wonderful youth advocates for mentoring from Alabama, as they share their perspectives on youth-led advocacy, on best practices for mentors, on mentoring programs, on how to effectively engage in the civic process, and how adults can be better partners to young people on advocacy, specifically in Alabama. And so I'm going to ask that Mason and Khalil turn their cameras on.
Thank you so much for that, Adrienne. And to introduce myself, my name is Khalil Sacco. I'm 20 years old. My location, I served as a mentor in Huntsville, Alabama for Alabama A&M. My current college is Lemoyne-Owen College in Memphis, Tennessee. My policy memo is on transforming the school-to-prison pipeline into the school-to-career pipeline by creating a competitive grant process for HBCU mentoring program. The reason why I wanted to join YAM and be a youth advocate is to strengthen my advocacy skills and to shine a light on what I believe education needs most right now.
And Khalil, can I ask you to just add one more thing and just talk to folks about the program that you participated in Alabama?
Yes, so I was a mentor for an organization called Men Up, Men of America Nurturing and Ushering Progress Incorporated. For Men Up, we mentored youth in the Huntsville City Schools, school district and Title I schools. My organization, or the organization I mentor through, the CEO funds his mentor program from money that he has collected from his professional basketball career overseas, which is beautiful. He did not let any barrier stop him from doing the work that he wants to see in his community, which was very inspiring for me. And being in the seat that I was in, my cohort, I was able to sit back and analyze. So it was me and my classmate, Cameron Durr. And what we did was we mentored 2 youth students in the school district. And I was able to take a step back and see the effect that it was having on the students, which was very positive. And you can tell how it was enriching that student's life, how just in 1 year of mentoring this child, you know, their life trajectory of what they see as fair or not fair, or what they want to accomplish in life has changed and improved, simply by the help of a mentor, helping them with their schoolwork and helping them to understand how to be effective and not disruptive in the classroom. And, you know, being that role model for that student, because we were required to wear suits and professional attire because we are the role models. So, you know, just from that experience is what encouraged me to pursue this policy work, because I feel like this is what education needs most right now. And HBCUs are able to give education that.
Great, thank you so much, Khalil. And Mason, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Mason Farrel. I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I am 18 years old. I currently attend Coastal Alabama Community College in Mobile, Alabama. And my policy memo was on youth gun violence, addressing the root causes. The reason I applied for YAM is because I was very interested in this program, because it spoke to me and it showed me a way to better my skills and better my ways into getting into policy and government. So I believe this program really has shown me how to take the proper steps to approach working with policy and government. Oh, and the mentoring program that I worked with is Big Brothers and Big Sisters of South Alabama. I currently have a mentor. Well, I had a mentor, and so we're still able to communicate with each other, and he's still able to give me some good advice.
Thank you. And now Khalil and Mason are going to actually self-guide and self-moderate this conversation. So I'm going to leave it to the 2 of them.
So going into our first question, what youth-led movements are happening in Alabama? Have any of them inspired your work?
Currently, I haven't seen any youth-led activities or movements in Alabama, but I believe that we could have one. So I think Black Lives Matter may have happened once or twice in Mobile, but I'm not too sure if it was youth-led. But it would be nice to see some youth-led activities in the state of Alabama, seeing as though we don't really do too much with, you know, youth-led activities. You see bigger cities like New York and Philadelphia and cities over in California that normally do those activities. So it would be nice to have a city like Mobile or Huntsville actually lead one of these activities.
And I have to agree with Mason. I haven't seen any, and that's really what we need right now. However, the one that I've kind of been doing a little bit of research on in Alabama is the Defund the Police hashtag. in response to underfunded community and social service programs. So what I took from this is asking questions like, why are police stations more developed and advanced than our communities and schools? Why are our project homes where our grandmother and great grandmother, still at a deficit? But we have to deal with an overpresence of police. If I get pulled over, there's 6 police cars behind me. However, my hot water doesn't work all the time during the week. These type of questions is what defund the police really brought about, because they're not necessarily saying that we don't need police presence. So how this has inspired my work is I've taken it as investing in the student's success versus investing in more oppressive systems such as prison pipelines and overfunded police presence. Students want to be able to take their showers before they come to school. They want to be able to live in better living environments before they come to school. And they want to see what they can be in their living environments, despite if it's Section 8 or whatever it is. Why aren't our communities and social service programs being more developed? We shouldn't fear the police presence. We should honor and respect them so that we as mentors working in the schools can encourage these youth to be to pursue public service, to pursue being police officers. They should be honored and withheld with most respect. So that's really how that hashtag has inspired my work, making sure that we as mentors are pushing students as a career goal to pursue public service. So putting respect on that is what is most needed. And defund the police, from my research, has not been something where we're saying we don't want police because we need police, but we want to see a better community before we see 6 police officers pulling 1 car over. Mason, I think your mic.
In what ways can mentors help young people feel more heard in their environments?
I've taken this in 2 different levels. The first level is in the early education. So we're talking our K through 8th grade. Mentors working with 1 to 2 students. If you're a new mentor and you're working with 1 to 2 students, you can level with them on a personal level. You can work with them on a personal level, and you can, reward them on a personal level, whether you bring them lunch or you bring them whatever, because 1 to 2 students is easy to manage. You know them on, like I said, that personal level, and you know how they think. So you can push them in the right direction as a mentor. Now on the high school, and on that same level, but the more veteran mentor, so if you work as a mentor for 2 years in college, then you should be able to work with 3 to 4 students, because of the fact that we need to target and nurture a lot of students that are at risk. However, I wouldn't put 3 to 4 students on veteran or on early mentors, only on veteran mentors. In the high school level, I'm saying we need to incorporate art models into mentoring that allow students the ability to showcase their work in their schools, communities, and through their programs. Whether we do music that's funded, studio, or art that's funded through the program where they can post it in their schools, or if there's a community center that hosts the mentoring program and the after-school program where they can host their artwork and for kids and students to see, or through their programs. If their program has yearly galas or however, having the space for those students to be honored and respected because of the amount of work that they've invested into their voice and their opinion, because it takes a lot to speak out.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, Khalil. And so my take on this is, advocacy would be a great way to get, young people like you and me heard in our communities, in our environments. Advocacy is such an important, aspect of some adults' lives. We should try to make it an important aspect of youth lives as well. If we're able to advocate for something like, gun control or mentoring in schools, then that shows that we actually want to take part in these big conversations, and this affects us in some way. So I believe that it's, not just, the older generation that should be talking about advocacy and advocating for change. I believe it's time for the youth to actually stand up and advocate for change, and that can be the main way we can be heard in our environments and in our communities. Mentors can help us write, policy memos, not exactly policy memos, but help us write things out that we want to see change. Help us, express our feelings and our thoughts in words and in writing so that we're able to communicate with someone who may be a city official or someone in Congress, so they know how the youth feels and what our perspective is on it as well.
Yes, that was beautifully put. So moving into our next question, how can mentoring programs revise their current structure to incorporate youth-led advocacy?
I think that ties back to the one we just answered, mentors actually helping youth write policy memos and help them advocate for change. So it would, correlate with my answer I just gave. So mentors, just being there to give them a little push and give them advice and show them what they can do and how they can, incorporate it into their lives and show people what they really want to see happen. It's not just about, sitting around not doing anything. We have to, if we want change, we have to stand up for it and we have to, get out there and take charge. So we can't just sit around and wait for things to happen. We have to get up, and if we really want to see a change, we must get up and, advocate for it.
Yes, Mason, teaching these students become poli-sci majors, become the political science majors, become the senators, become the House representatives of your respective states and communities. My answer would be by incorporating youth summits and program incentives into their yearly itineraries. So as a youth program or mentoring program, there should be something where, you partner with a college and you do something during the summer, or you partner with an organization and you do something during the summer to allow students to look forward to something, for one, and for two, for them to grow and develop through your program. And of course, program incentives. Who doesn't love a free hoodie or a free backpack or some headphones or something, or a gift card for perfect attendance? So things like that, or like a 4.0, or if you have a higher than a 3.0. So incorporating these things can really bring a lot of structure and positive change to these programs.
Add something on to that, talking about the one that, that's achieving the 4.0. We shouldn't, yes, we should award them, but we should also look at the ones who may not be doing so well. So those who may have a 2.0 or someone with maybe a little bit lower, we should, give them the same opportunities and the same chances to come back and say, yes, this is what I want to see happen. So don't just give the chance to the one that's up there making the 4.0. At least give me a chance so I can say, this is what I want to see happen as well. All right. What are common practices of youth mentoring that are least effective in nurturing youth voice and youth-led advocacy?
I think that this question has a very simple answer. We're dealing with youth. We already talked about the issue and the stigma of youth voices being suppressed in education as it is. So I really think that the lack of values, ethics, and commitment can really damage the youth opposed to helping the youth. So we already talked about how these things damage youth in the education setting, but being a mentor and lacking values, ethics, and commitment just makes the situation completely worse. The organization I come from is called Man Up. We are the male role models. Yes, we may have tendencies that are childish, but as we nurture these children, we then see where we're slipping on our values, ethics, and commitment. So I think that these things, if you lack them, it's the most least effective in any setting, as a mentor, as an adult, as a role model, as a teacher, as a principal. Lacking these things, doesn't encourage the student to want to gain these things. And these are very important. Values, ethics, and commitment are very important in living a healthy lifestyle.
And I couldn't agree more. You know, that's very well put, Khalil.
So moving on to the next question, Mason. Okay. Uh, what is one thing that your mentor did that helped ignite your efforts in advocacy?
One thing my mentor did, I mean, I can name a lot, but I'll just go off with one that really stuck with me. He really, you know, he was always there when I had questions for him. So I would always, doubt myself on what I could do. And he was like, no, 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 don't stop doubting yourself. You can do it. Stop telling yourself, no, you can do it. So I think that's what really, pushed me to really want to advocate for what I, wanted to do even more. And so I think more youth need that in their lives. They need someone to tell them to stop doubting themselves, because a lot of youth our age, they see a lot of stuff on TV, they see stuff on social media. They say, "Hey, I want something like that," but then they look at what they're going through and they're like, "I can't do that." So I think, if they really want to if they want to advocate for something, stop doubting what they can do and start looking at what's possible. If we look at what's possible, then we can achieve it. We just have to put in the hard work for it.
Yes, that was beautifully put. I do believe that mentors serve as that important role to help role model students to know that, hey, you don't have to be a rapper to live a rapper lifestyle. You don't have to be, you don't have to do those things to live those fancy or, wealthy lifestyles. So for me, my mentor really helped me to encourage me to keep going and to dig deeper than my initial feelings. As human beings, we usually are reactionary and act on our first feeling. But once you take a step back and you really understand your first feeling and how you feel about that, then you kind of evolve in how you respond. So helping me to see things differently and finding the root about how I feel about a situation or idea, but also helping me to set the goals so that I can constantly improve my work. Because with goals, you can always move forward opposed to backwards. So that's really good.
Very well put, Khalil. All right, let's move on. How can both mentoring and youth-led advocacy play a larger role in the education system and in schools?
Well, relating to my policy memo, this is why I believe funding needs to happen for these programs. Because when you fund these programs, they allow both the mentors and students to pursue advocacy work while also giving the students the space to grow and develop their life skills to properly voice their concerns. So with funding, these students can have fun, they can explore their issue, and then the students who are interested in pursuing voicing their concerns in a non-artistic form, so whether it's a verbal form or through policy work, that it gives them the space to do that. So I feel like there needs to be the incorporation of both youth-led advocacy and mentoring, and the understanding that not all students want to pursue policy work or want to pursue political science. A lot of students just want to do the artistic work. They want to create the song or they want to create the artwork to go with it. So that's really finding how to merge the two, but then allowing space for both sides to develop.
I love that answer, Khalil. Just give them that space to work together and, come together and see what they can both do to, help each other. Mentors, youth advocates, they can learn from each other, and they, how we learn from our mentors and how we learn from the people in YAM. These youth can learn the same things from a mentor who can help them write policies, advocate for stuff. So that was very well put.
So the next question is, what are some circumstances that may hold youth back from entering mentoring programs and discussing their advocacy issues or passions?
I think a lot of youth, um, they look at other people, these people that have a lot of fame and stuff, and they say, I want that. They look at themselves, they say, I don't think I can have that. So it's, they have to stop doubting themselves, and at the same time they have to ask someone, well, what can I do to help myself get to where I want to be? A lot of kids, they come from backgrounds that are not the best. They come from backgrounds, where they don't get a lot of support. And I think that it really deters them, because they see a lot of people like us and other people, they see them, they say they got all the support in the world. Well, we didn't start off this way. We don't always start off having the strongest support system. But when we get into programs that give us this support and have people that really care about us, then we grow and we bond with them. And so that's how we're able to get out of our comfort zone and really get into advocating for something. So I think a lot of these kids, they want that, but they just don't see it happening. And we just have to give them the platform to say, yes, this can happen. We have to give them the right people who will, support them, not tear them down, who will give them hope and not discourage them. Discouraging them is just gonna, make them fall behind even further and not want to do it even more. So we just really have to get in there and say, yes, you can do this. Stop doubting yourself, and we're here to support you. If we give them that support, then maybe they'll get out of their comfort zone and really advocate and want to do more.
Yes, I agree, Mason. Specifically on what I see is the lack of mentoring programs that relate to the youth served. So that relates back to my policy memo saying that there needs to be this pipeline of students who are mentoring youth in their school districts or Title I schools. But there's also the connection of African Americans being connected through African American students and mentors being connected through the school system and college. So, there's a range of possible majors that they can take on, but, allowing these HBCU students to work in these schools is what really needs to happen. So students aren't being held back in what they want to pursue in their post-secondary success, and they're not being held back in the classroom and feeling alienated. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that answer, Khalil. All right, let's move on. How do you go about advocating for your issue when it feels like the majority of those around you either don't support your ideas or don't care enough to support them?
Yeah, honestly, this is like a life thing. There's always going to be people who disagree, or always be people who don't support you. So it's all about finding the people and organizations that do support your issue, and finding allies to help you pursue your issue, and then the solution.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And like you were saying, it's life treats you that way as well. Life will throw something at you and it'll say no. But you have to, just get in there and say, well, if you're not going to support me, then I'll find someone who will. So it's, there are people out there who don't care, people out there that just, don't want you to succeed. But there are good people still in the world. So if we're able to connect with those people, and, speak with them, then maybe we'll be able to, connect on a broader level and have some type of access to things that we thought we didn't have access to. So being able to just really have someone in your corner, I think that makes the difference for a lot of people.
Yeah, so what are some advocacy resources you have used that embolden your voice as a youth advocate?
Let's see, I think some advocacy things that I've used, resources that I've used that have emboldened me are really the mentors that I've been given. And, I try to use them as someone that I can look at and say, can you help me with this? I'm not trying to, rely so heavily on them that I can't do it myself. But it's really like I, need someone to talk to and need someone that can be there to help me. And so I think that, you know, when you have a good mentor, you have someone that's really gonna help you fight for what you believe in and help you, you know, fight for what's right. So I believe that that's what really helped me, you know, embolden my stances and where I, you know, stand.
Yeah, that was beautifully put, Mason. Mentors working as the resource, to help these youth, embolden their voice and help them become more confident in themselves. To add on to that, I would say through asking questions and writing. So asking your mentor questions, things, they say that no question is a stupid question. You may have some questions that you like, why did you ask that? But saying that no question is a stupid question is basically saying, trying to figure out how someone else may see something, which also allows that person to say, oh, well, wait a second. They become more firm in how they see something. So I think that asking questions is an important resource. And having your mentor as that resource to ask the question is just what we need right now, as well as writing. So that's the policy work that we did. At first, I was like, well, I don't know who's going to read this. I don't know what's going to happen. But after I got done with the work, I was so confident. I was so proud of it that I just know that it left its stamp. So I believe that writing is also a really good resource.
Yeah, and a lot of kids, a lot of people are afraid to ask questions, because they get kind of intimidated, and so I think once you break through that comfort zone, you got to get them out of there. You got to say, yeah, this may be your comfort zone, but let's try to move past that. Let's get you somewhere where you're able to feel safe, but you're not just stuck in one place. So you'll be able to ask more questions. I was like that, especially in high school. I didn't really like to ask my teachers questions, but that one-on-one time with them after class really made a difference. And so it really opened me up to ask more questions around people and around my peers. So I think that helping them ask more questions and be more open really helps. Let's move on. Tell me more about your experience with youth advocates for mentoring, and what did you learn the most about advocacy and yourself?
Yeah, so my experience with youth advocates, it started off as an excellent training. I had excellent resources that became mentors. Miss Adrienne Alisea, just amazing. Just the whole program being something to where I grew with my cohort. Me and my cohort has shared a really good relationship together, and then to be able to present it at the end of the program was just the most satisfying and honorable time, like I believe for all of us and myself. And then adding on to that, the finished product and being scared, oh, I don't know if it's gonna be good, and having the back and forth with Adrian, like, I don't know if they're gonna really understand this. Let's reword this to where the work is just, you know what I mean? It's just there, like it's amazing. So I'm, really thankful and appreciative for that and how it's grown my skills as an advocate and in my presentation skills to members of Congress, because sometimes we get discouraged or we may get an attitude because they have an attitude with us. But we have to remember that they are very busy people wanting to do change and work, but they don't have they do have the resources at their disposal, but they don't have the people coming to them with what they want to see done or change. So having come to them, virtually, and they actually did enjoy my work and did enjoy my presentation, it really made me feel good because they were like, wait a second, is this something that's already happening? So, to hear that, I'm like, well, wow, they do have the power to create change. And I know that if I keep pushing, if my cohort keeps pushing, if, we push students to keep pushing, then we can actually start to see change. And they just brought hope to me. It was such a beautiful experience.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same way. My experience with youth advocates for mentoring has been just amazing. Miss Adrian, coordinating this all, teaching us, and talking about great mentors. She's one of those great mentors, and someone you can consider a friend because she's, she didn't just leave us in the dark. She was, all those emails saying, hey guys, I need y'all with this, I need y'all with this, her editing our paper saying, leaving all those comments, like this, gets repetitive, but at the same time, it worked. It helped us better ourselves and really just be ready to meet those people in Congress. I just had the constant fear, how am I going to explain this to someone that doesn't see things the same way I do? How can I explain this to someone without offending them? How can I explain to them without making them feel like I'm trying to, impose on something that they believe strongly in? So it was really more of a Miss Adrian, how can I, word this and how can I really phrase this the right way without hurting someone's, feelings? And how can I just, make it, to where they feel comfortable to answer my questions? And when I got in there, I was able to really explain it in a way that didn't impose on what they thought was wrong. I was just really able to get in there and flow through it, and they were like, "Wow, he really did that without pushing any of their buttons that they think we would push." So people like Ms. Adrian and other people in the organization really have helped me become more of an open person. They bettered me, and I love them for what they did, and it's all good from here. Yep. We had
So the
another
next,
question.
yes, two more. So how would you go about getting more youth in Alabama to become more involved in advocacy?
That's a great question. I would say we should advocate more in schools, well, advertise it more in schools. Social media is, a big thing, especially here in the South, because a lot of people look at social media. They look at what people over on the West Coast or on the East Coast do, and they're like, I want to be like that. So I think, if we really got them to see more of just, those famous people, see that they're doing something good, then maybe they would, follow the trend and follow behind it. So, yeah, I just think that if we, advocate it more in schools, on social media, TVs, whatever, that could, help get the youth more out and more involved. Do you have something to add to it, Khalil?
Yes. Well, you beautifully put. The most beautiful part to me is how we presented, and I thought that, oh, they weren't going to have time, they weren't going to want to listen to one of the most important issues, which is education, right? But they were actually, open eared, and they were responsive to both of our issues when we presented, which just gave me so much hope to say that, if we continue as youth advocates with our issue, and if we encourage mentors to incorporate advocacy in schools, so students are given a voice, and not all students are going to want to go present. Maybe only one or two. The poli-sci majors want to, the poli-sci of the kids, right? And then the rest of the kids want to do their artwork, or they want to just do the writing portion. It's a team. It's a team thing. Even us having our separate issues, we work together as a team to make sure that we all encouraged each other, and all had our portions of our work done, and effectively done too. Our revised edits and all of that. So, I believe it just gave me so much hope.
That's great. All right, let's go back to this one. On days you may be doubting yourself, how do you stay grounded and motivate yourself to keep going?
Yeah, honestly, I just put, like, to me, it's keep going as long as you're working towards goals. So if you have a goal set, and you keep pushing towards that goal, then eventually you'll either reach that goal or set a new goal, because you see, oh, well, maybe to me it was a smart goal at the time, but after I've made progress towards it, it became kind of difficult. So then setting that new goal, so always working towards a goal and a future, long term, short term.
I really agree about the setting goals. And what I try to do is I like to just, just have the time, set time away from it and talk to somebody, talk to them about how I'm really feeling about the issue and tell them what I really want to say and what, I feel about it. And I think that'll help a lot of people, understand the importance of it, getting away from, you know, taking time away from, writing, and it'll help you, clear your mind, gather your thoughts, and really just come together and say, okay, I want to do something, but I want to know how can I, what's my timeline, what am I really trying to achieve with this? So it's really just I need to set time away so I can gather my thoughts and really see what the bigger picture is. Because it's not just about what I want, it's about what's needed for an entire population, an entire community of people. So we just have to take time away and really think. I think that's the biggest part of it.
Yes, Mason, especially that timeline part. That's really it. Understanding your timeline too, because without a timeline, you'll get lost in between, or you won't know the next step to take to reach your goal. So yeah, that timeline for part two.
Another question for us. Can you tell me about your policy memo and why you selected that topic?
Yeah, so my policy memo is on transforming the school to prison pipeline into the school to career pipeline by creating a competitive grant process for HBCU mentoring programs. The reason why I chose this topic is because the school to prison pipeline has effectively damaged our community as African Americans and low income peoples. Um, and we're often put to blame about it. However, when we identify the root causes of it as zero tolerance policies and teacher biases, then we have to take a step back and say, wait a minute, maybe these students' voices are literally being snatched from their throats. Maybe these students aren't given the access to opportunities that they need to have. And then my question to that would then be, okay, if that's the biggest issue that I see that can be changed, right? How do we change that issue? And then the solution that I came up with is merging HBCU mentoring programs and, increasing and encouraging new and existing HBCU programs to work in Title I schools so that students are pipelined and funneled from high school and middle school to college, knowing what they want to pursue, and knowing that they're supported by mentors and getting already a feel of what college is like, so that they can be pipelined instead of being pipelined from school to prison, they're pipelined from school to career. And it helps students who are also in college to really build their skills as as an adult and to grow and develop, so that they too can be pipelined into careers and higher positions in careers. Like when I was in college myself, I've changed my major 3 times. I was a marketing major, a computer science, cyber defense major, and now I'm a poli-sci major. All of these things, it's not because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know what my skills and my talents are. However, I didn't really have the space in high school and middle school to really work with someone who was in the space of college to really, narrow down. Oh, and I was an urban planning major too. Love all of these majors, and I feel like I can be successful in all of them, right? But not every student is like that. Not every student has that support system to say, to go out and have the courage to explore different majors. So they go into college saying, okay, I'll do business, or I'll be undecided for 2 years, and then their third year they might drop out because they say, I don't know if school is for me. No, there needs to be mentors that work with these students so that they are being pipelined into post-secondary success opposed to prison. And I believe that, by funding these programs it can be possible because these programs will give students year-long mentorship, year-long advocacy skills through whatever programs and projects that they do during their yearly itineraries. And these Title I schools start to look a lot better.
That's a great topic. My topic was youth gun violence, addressing the root causes. So it really got me to looking at this topic, and what made me pick this topic was I was constantly seeing a lot of, gun violence. We hear about it, and we look over it sometimes, and we just don't do anything about it. And I thought that was a major problem because we've seen Congress, they've taken up arms over it. They're like, okay, we'll do something about it. About maybe a week or two later, we saw nothing happen about it. So this caused me to really look at the issue and see what the major problem was with youth gun violence. And once I was able to, do more research and get more help on what it was, I was able to come together and pick this topic and really formulate a policy memo that, addresses the issues and the causes and what the solutions can be for it. Now we all see we hear about it on TV and the radio, shootings happening here, shootings happening there. And then we hear Congress may, say they may do something about it, but we never see anything happen about it. So I believe that this really caused me to want to, do more and advocate for something, because a lot of kids my age that look like me are getting killed and people are not doing anything about it. So it really hurts to see my own people that look like me, who are close to me in age, getting killed or getting severely injured. So I believe that was something that really just said, okay, Mason, it's time for you to say something about this, do something about it. So I believe that's what caused me to really get into it. And I think that if we were able to, after this pandemic is over, maybe we could advocate for our policies some more. I really hope we could, because I believe that's still a major issue in our country. Even though we don't hear much about it now, it's still a major issue that, we need to be addressed. So yeah, it's just, it's time to do something about it. It's now or never.
Thank you both. That was a really insightful and really beautiful conversation to listen to. I want to remind folks that they can put any questions they might have for Mason and Khalil in the question and answer box. I do have a question from the audience that I'm going to ask you, though. The first question the audience had was, how do you have hard conversations between a mentor and a mentee if they may not always agree on advocacy issues?
I think that honestly, that's a good question. So when we look at the mentor-mentee relationship, we have to take a step back and realize that the mentor is not in the role to change the student's thinking or change their perception of their environment, right? So if they come from an environment and they know what they've seen, and the mentor is effectively trying to tell them or give them insight on a different environment, that mentee doesn't want to hear that, because the mentee is from that environment. So I think that specifically the issue then is being that the relationship is not effective. So the mentor needs to be there to be the I wouldn't say devil's advocate, but maybe that's the best way to put it. So the student voices their concerns, the mentee voices their concerns, and it may be outlandish, but they're only speaking from their environment. So then it's the mentor's job to say, well, why do you think like that? Or have you seen it maybe from this scenario? So that the student thinking isn't being manipulated, which will frustrate the mentee, but instead it's being challenged, right? Because the mentor is the adult. The mentor is the one who already has his mindset made up so far on his life experience. The mentee is the one trying to figure theirs out. So, asking challenging questions opposed to and trying to influence because it's not your job. They're not your child. They're not your child.
Yeah, I agree with that, Khalil. And I also believe that finding some sort of common ground will really help, bridge the gap between the two. One may be an adult, one may be a child, but at the same time, if you're able to find some sort of common ground that can connect the both of you, then that can really, really help bridge the divide. And that can show you, well, there's nothing really that much different between us. So, I may know this, but this kid knows something too. And, they haven't been around as long. And, that's the great thing about mentoring programs and advocating for things. A 18-year-old or a 20-year-old can advocate something to a 60 or 70-year-old that they may still, not be so sure about. So it's just, you need to find some sort of common ground that can help bridge that divide, and that can really helps, help a lot of mentors and mentees come together and do some great work.
Yeah, I think those are really great answers. Our next question is, at what age should mentoring programs introduce young people to advocacy?
I'd say, let's see, I think I was 17 when I started. I'd say maybe start off at maybe 15 or 16. That can kind of get their foot in the door, and maybe once they're 17 or 18, they could take the bigger step and the bigger leap, like maybe applying for youth advocates for mentor who can really, give them something stronger to work on. So maybe starting off at maybe 15 or 16 can help them develop the process of writing policy memos, you know, start teaching them the basics of how to write a policy memo. And, then once they're maybe 17 or 18 or 19, they can jump right into that bigger stuff, like, writing a full policy memo, developing all these things that you may want to see Congress do or see, your elected officials do. So yeah, 15 or 16 to me is a relatively good age to start off at.
Yeah, I agree with Mason. Making sure that we target, these youth young, because between the age of 15 to 16, and in early education, students always have issues, whether it's their school lunch, whether it's something in their community, and they have a profound statement to make about it at a young age, right? So it's about teaching these students how to be able to effectively voice their concerns at a young age is one side of advocacy, and then the other side of advocacy is writing your policy memos and actually going to the powerful people to say, look, I'm tired. And there's research to say that a lot of other people are tired, right? So then making sure that we identify both sides of the spectrum, and we address both sides of the spectrum, giving youth voices in their schools and communities. And then, through artwork or through I don't care if they do a play, but then addressing the other side, which is the more professional side, is what Yam went through. I'm actually going to these people to say, look, we're tired, and there's research to say that they're tired, and there's nonprofits where there's money invested saying that they're tired, right? So identifying both sides of the spectrum and assist, or and teaching the students, not giving them too much. Like if they're 14, don't tell them to write a policy memo, right? They do some artwork or do a play. But if you're 17, 18, going to college, and you either want to be a poli-sci major or an art activist, go ahead, do your thing, right? Because then these type of skills will really help them, be strong when they want to be a house rep for their district, or they want to be a senator, or, they want to start a nonprofit.
Yeah, I think those are really great points that you both made. We have time for one last question, so I'm going to go ahead and ask y'all. The question is, for mentoring programs, college mentors and mentees are often the hardest to retain. What can mentoring programs do to better engage college students like yourselves?
As a college student, I know it sounds greedy, I know, but there needs to be incentives, there needs to be funding, there needs to be scholarships, because we are acting as intermediaries in Title I schools where they said that there's so many problems that can't be solved, right? We're effectively solving problems. I am currently a youth advocate. I'm currently a youth advocate for, or I'm not a youth advocate, a youth mentor for, it's for Portland Public Schools. And they want us to mentor, and they want us to mentor students pathway from 12th grade into college. So they want us to mentor these students, meet with them 4 times a month, do two assignments a month for a whole year for free, right? So then we have to then say, well, what about me? What about my time? I'm a student. If you give me a $2,000 scholarship to where my education is being covered a little bit, then I can be more inclined to say, okay, well, let me help these students, you know, so that I can step up and take this $2,000 when they're ready. Maybe it's $4,000, you know what I mean? Or maybe it's $3,000, or, you know, incentive packages. So if you get a MacBook, or if you get some AirPods or headphones or something, you know, or stipend pay. So that's why I feel like if we're going to invest into mentors, you know, effectively building students in Title I schools and easing issues that people have said they've been issues for the longest and said that they're been tried to be solved for the longest, but they are just only getting worse, then there needs to be incentives. There needs to be funding for this type of work.
Yeah, I agree with you, Khalil. We may want to help, but at the same time, we've got to be getting a little bit of help from somebody else, because we may not always have the resources that we need, you know, when we're trying to help them. So, you know, if you can give us the resources we need, you know, maybe a little bit of funding to, you know, help us out some, that'll really keep us, you know, grounded and want to, you know, be engaged even more in it.
Great. Thank you both so much for your time today. I want to remind everyone in the audience that if you would like to follow up with Khalil or Mason, you can email me at aalisea@mentoring.org. When you receive an email in a week, I'll have my email address in there because I know it's hard for people to spell my last name. But again, thank you, Mason. Thank you, Khalil. This was an amazing conversation. We appreciate your time. And again, just I feel lucky to have worked alongside with two of you for the last year and to continue to do so in so many ways and to see all the things that you will do. So have a wonderful rest of your week, and thank you so much everyone for joining us today.